right, guys. Well, welcome to another version of Tech Tuesday. Mr. Safe Tech here. Excited. It's a rainy day in Texas. Just flew in from Las Vegas, was out at IFSPI looking at critical communication technology, and excited that when I got back, had an opportunity to sit down here with our winner of our Safe Tech pitch that we did at FDIC this year, Ascent. Have Alex with me, who I've just recently had a chance to meet. But before I do that, I just want to say I am so excited that when we did go back out and do an in-person event, everybody that we got to meet up there, when we were working with W.S. Darley and Kevin Sofin, we worked with the Public Safety Network and everybody at TechNexus, is we met 5 new companies I had never heard of. And so that's exciting to me that in COVID, there were people who were still dedicated to try to create new technology for public safety and first responders in our armed forces. And so, Alex, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you guys for seeing this as an opportunity to pursue. This is not an easy market to go after, but I do think you guys are taking a very unique approach to an issue that we've been working on in the fire service for over a decade, if not more. We've seen different things come through, but I think the approach you guys are taking is quite unique. And so I appreciate you being on here and everything you guys are doing to bring new innovative technology to public safety in our armed forces.
Thank you, Caleb. It's great to be here.
So tell us, let's step back in time and kind of give us a little bit of background. I know you have a co-founder. I got to spend a little bit of time with him at the Darley party at FDIC. Give us a little background kind of on how Ascent came to be. And then let's talk a little bit about, kind of where you're at today. And then we'll just talk through the technology.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So for Paul, my co-founder, and I, this is not our first venture. This is our first venture together, but we've both been involved in the defense industry. I've done prior work in the first responder industry, et cetera. And for us, a really key cornerstone of our venture is all about that customer discovery. So that is really what Paul and I initially bonded over. He'd left his former venture. He came back to East Central Illinois out of Champaign, where we're headquartered. And I was just recently moved back to the area. We were both mentoring teams in our iVenture program here at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, which is one of many entrepreneurial programs to, teach young college students how to build good ventures, how to do customer discovery, how to understand the difference between what the customer wants versus what the engineer wants. We started talking because I would meet with teams and I'd say, hey, have you confirmed the customer actually cares what you're building? And they'd say, oh, Paul Kustin told me the same thing. And Paul would meet with them and he'd say, hey, make sure you're not, falling in love with your product, fall in love with the problem. And they'd say, this really scary looking like Viking guy told me the same thing. So we ended up meeting. He came down to my place in Champaign. In keeping with the Viking theme, we had too much of my homemade mead. Fortunately, we threw axes before having a lot of the mead. Yeah. We ended talking about, what it's like to build a hard tech venture, what it's like to build stuff for our armed services, the challenges and pitfalls we face. We ran into 2 opportunities from the various works program that kind of launched Ascent and got us thinking about this need for, better sensor integration into SCBA and, building a common operating picture that we are. The first was the Integrated Respirator Information System from AFWorks. And then the second was the Versatile Integrated Protection and Encumbrance Reduction through SoftWorks. Both really focused around putting on SCBA, going into harsh conditions, austere conditions, facing an adversary, whether that's, a fire or fixing, something in the fuselage of a plane or, going into combat. Wearing PPE sucks and it reduces operator efficiency, interoperability, survivability, and lethality. And that's really the cornerstone of what our company's built upon, is that when 5 to 20 guys have to go in for a high intensity, small squad tactic, at Ascent, we can provide that common operating picture to get our guys into the situation allow them to vanquish the enemy faster, whether that's bad guys or a fire or what have you, and get them home safe to their families.
Well, we're going to unpack like 5 things real quick. And I would ask that you talk just a little bit more about the, is it IFSI? Is that what it's called?
Yep. IFSI, Illinois Fire Service Institute. They're incredible. Like I said, they're like a minute away. So we go there around once a month, and that can range from, Paul and I putting on the bunker gear, going into the fire, wearing our stuff. Obviously I can't attain that good a face seal, to, having a once a month, essentially like a feedback session, of, hey, we made this change to our portal. What do you think? Hey, we made this change to, our hardware. Is it still good to wear? And the team has just been really incredible. The first day that we had a burn there, it was a lot of fun because we handed them the sensors to put on their, at the time, the 3M mask was what they had on. And we said, hey, wear this. We want you to break it. Please break it. We will find out where it breaks. We'll throw it in our CAT scanner. We'll figure out how to make it better. And one of them didn't believe us. He's like, really? You want me to break this? I'm like, yeah, dude, that's why we're here. Break it, burn it, mess it up. Your thing on LinkedIn, essentially. We're
That
like,
is a
break
patented,
it, make it happen.
That is a patented slogan. It's trademarked. If you need to burn it, break it, or blow it up, give me a call.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's get in the weeds. So, you realize there's already people building SCBAs. There's already people building that full ensemble, which is not an easy process to start from the beginning and go through that without a significant amount of capital. So talk to us today about, the offering that's available that you guys are working on. I do believe you're pretty mature in the fact you guys are looking for some pilots now, or maybe you already have some lined up and you're really building product for that. But kind of talk through what's the product standpoint today, and what is it? I don't know if any of your mask behind you have it on it, but just talk through kind of where you ended up and what's the solution look like.
Yeah. So the primary solution and what's going to offer the most value to IC as well as the guys on the line is that we have a portal. We have a portal that can show actionable insight. It can show, mapping. So as the operators are moving through the building, they're actually mapping and building both the heat map, where doors, where walls, where exits, etc., with our hardware. And I'll talk about that in a moment. And then that portal also shows, insight on the health of the guys, body temp, core temp, pulse ox, etc. And all of these things are keyed to individual operators. With some back-end ML stuff that we have that, where they go through essentially a calibration process to get it keyed into their individual. So we can see, what is a high heart rate for that person, not just in general. Additionally, a lot of environmental insights. For our DoD customers, we've got all kinds of fun things like, radiation and all kinds of other things. For, the fire service, we integrate, hazardous gases, depleted, enriched oxygen, et cetera, things that are risks. And, with us collecting all this data through our hardware, which just attaches onto the side, it does not damage, alter, interfere with the fundamental seal or gasket in any way, shape, or form with any of the SCBA that we work with. We have mounting brackets that clip on the side, damage-free, and then our product magnetically attaches onto those. And then in that mounting bracket is actually an RFID, so you can see who's wearing the individual components. So that way, if something breaks, because it's a fire, it's a bad environment. If something breaks, you just snap on a new sensor housing. In addition to what attaches onto the helmet, that exact same module, and I've actually got one here. So this exact same module, which contains, a LiDAR, IR, a tick camera. It also contains, some of our environmental sensors, our location sensors, IMUs, all kinds of fun stuff that can attach onto that mask, either on the side. And from our customer discovery, we've talked to over 400 firefighters across the US. We learned a lot of them want it on the helmet, clipping on the side as well. Exact same, we have a mounting bracket with an RFID. It clips there on the side. And then on the throat, we have our biocom system, which in addition to a throat mic and bone conductive earpiece to allow hands-free communication, that's where we have our biometric sensors.
And do you partner with someone on that aspect, that sensor?
So we are currently working with Draeger, 3M, MSA, Motorola, a lot of the big names. And what we really see is the fundamental value of Ascent to the operator, to IC, and to the broader industry is that we can be a good integration partner.
Yeah.
I know there are other companies working on biometrics, for example, really, really great guys. We would love to find a way to work with all of these companies, because unless we, and I'm using this broader than Ascent, just the industry of people building things for warfighters and first responders, unless we find a way to build cohesive, comprehensive solutions to problems that our first responders and operators face, we're going to build piecemeal solutions.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that a lot. I mean, even at this conference I just came from, IFSPI, there's plenty of discussions on IoT sensors. And really, I mean, they're obviously looking at it a little bit more from a municipality, but, imagine an intersection is censored. Well, the sensors within that intersection may all be coming back to one location, but sometimes it needs to go to the city maintenance facility because of the trash cans. Sometimes it's the traffic light group. Sometimes it's law enforcement. Sometimes it's fire. Sometimes it's economic development because there's a parade going through that intersection. And it's just talking about what does the digestion of all of these IoT sensors look like? Because there's no way that every single, the exact same sensor could be very beneficial to a whole bunch of different end users. And so just a really interesting discussion. And I think that as we continue to move forward, you're spot on about, identifying some set industry standards that we can all adopt to. That way, we're making it easier on the fire service. And I spend a lot of time also in defense and public safety across the board. Think about search and rescue guys as well. They're doing interior structure searches, long duration cycles, 12-hour cycles, and checking in and out on those guys. So I think there's a lot of upside, and moving even to that, that helmet mount maybe gives you a little bit more market reach in some of the opportunities. So super interesting there. So let's come back. Talk to me. You guys do have some pilots coming up. I remember there being a big number around that, and it started with a 4. It was either 40 or 400. I
wish it was
the
400
number, but you guys got some pilots you're working towards?
40, yeah. So we are launching 40 pilots across the U.S., primarily concentrated here in the Midwest, and that'll be in March 2022.
Okay. Well, good news. That is where we're going to pull this Tech Tuesday to a close, because as the winner of the FDIC regional pitch, you guys qualified to come down as a finalist. And this will be the first time we've publicly really put out there, is we're going to run the Safe Tech Summit. It'll be March 6th through the 10th. And so if you are out there as one of our end users and you're interested in seeing Ascent, we encourage you to go ahead and mark that down and look for an opportunity to come and engage directly with them. I mean, Alex just said, it's voice of customers what they want. So here's an opportunity to see this technology. We'll work with some of our great partners here in our community in Bryan College Station so that you could possibly put a demonstration and, maybe go through a blackout room or do some other things. So really, really great technology you guys are working on. I'm glad to see that, you're working with IFSI, because that's a great group there. I serve on an advisory board with Brian out of that group. And so, man, you guys are doing great work. We really appreciate you. We appreciate what you're doing for the service and for the fire service and others in this space. We wish you guys the best of the luck. Obviously, if we can do anything for you down here in College Station, the door's always open. We hope that we can continue to grow this relationship, and we're glad that we got a chance to meet you, I guess, just in July and August of this year. So let's keep up the great work. Thank you so much for the time today, and hopefully more people will have an opportunity to come and explore your website and learn more about your product.
Excellent. Thank you, Caleb.
All right, buddy. Thanks, and gig 'em.